Welcome to another video in Holy Sheets, the video series. In this video, we're going to take a look at some simple Sheets formatting and design tips, and we're going to talk about how to format our headers and add some colors to make our data just easier to view and really accessible to any user who might be using our spreadsheet. Let's jump into our practice data set and get started. So here we are in a pretty common educational data set. I've got a list of names with ID numbers. I've got some course and section identification, and then I have three assessments. This is a pretty common scenario for us in education. We're looking at some assessment data from our students, and you'll notice right now everything is really the same. We've got the same font, we've got the same colors, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are a few things that we can do to kind of spice this up and just make that data really accessible to any user who might be jumping in and using our spreadsheet. So one of the very first things that I will do whenever I come into a spreadsheet is I'll start scrolling. And you'll notice in this spreadsheet, as soon as I start scrolling, I am losing my header row. We can fix that really easily. If you hover over here just above the row numbers at this dark gray line, we can click and drag that down, freezes our header row in place so that I can scroll now without losing all of that important header information. This data is pretty straightforward. I kind of know what's going on, but sometimes our data is more complicated. We don't know what the header is unless we can see it. So freezing that in place is really helpful. You can do a similar thing by highlighting some rows, move up to view, and then you can edit these freeze rows or columns right from this menu as well. So let's use this method to adjust the frozen columns. In this case, if I'm scrolling left to right, I might be looking to keep the name identifier there. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze two columns. You'll click that. Notice it moves that dark gray line for me, and now I can scroll left to right without losing the names, and I can scroll vertically without losing our header rows. Those are two really quick, very easy things that improve the usability of our data. The next thing that I like to do, and to be honest, I used to do this manually, but there is a new automated way to do it in a recent update. If you go ahead and highlight the columns that you're interested in, just by clicking on the letters and dragging over until you've captured all of those, move up to Format, and come down to Alternating Colors. Automatically now, Google Sheets will, to whatever range you've selected, it will apply a header and some colors. You'll notice you have some presets here, or you can customize them with your own school or district colors as well. We're using Google Sheets today, so I think a green is pretty appropriate. You just click on that, it automatically adjusts everything, and then remember to scroll down and hit done at the bottom of this. And now, regardless of what I do with my data, including adding in new rows, you'll notice all of those alternating colors are there. It just kind of helps me follow my data left to right as I'm looking through sometimes a massive amount of data. And it's just a quick way to be able to kind of help that. I'm going to go ahead and remove these rows because we don't need them right now, but I just wanted to show you that that adjusts regardless of what you're doing with your data. So at this point, we've only done two things, but it's made a big impact on our data. We adjusted our freeze rows and columns, and then we added in those alternating colors. From here, there's just a few other things that I might do. For example, I might highlight this entire first row. I'm going to do Control B just to add bold there. Just adds a little bit of pop of color there in the header so I can quickly see what's going on. I also like to take columns that have numerical data in them, like these test columns. I will often center those. I typically like to have text in a left align. Sometimes this course and section information can go either way. It's kind of a personal preference, but do keep that in mind. You could also, if you wanted to, center some of these other ones. It depends on your data and your interests. You can also highlight a section of columns, and you can right click, come down to resize, and we can adjust those a little bit too. So in this case, there's a little bit of extra space there that I think I can do without. So I just changed the number of pixels wide that these columns are. You can manually change that as well. However, if you'd like it to be precise, jumping in and actually doing, highlighting the columns and resizing that way, it's just a more consistent way to make sure everything is perfect before you move forward. So let's go ahead. That'll wrap up this video. Come back for more tips on how to get started using Google Sheets.